We're going deep with a Cyberpunk R-Red Easy Mode rulebook to give everyone a solid look at this world.
Yeah, we're going to break it down. Think lore, setting, even some of that slang you need to really feel like you're in Night City.
Okay, so imagine 2045,
hmm
the world still kind of reeling from this massive war, the time of the Red.
Not just any war, though. We're talking corporations going head-to-head, full-blown global conflict.
And at time of the Red, it really messed things up.
Oh, yeah, big time. When the rulebook says scarred, they mean it. Like, literally, the sky is red.
Red.
Red. All that fallout, the nukes, whatever else got tossed around, it stained the atmosphere. Imagine waking up to that every single day.
Heavy.
Yeah, pretty bleak reminder of how messed up things got.
So, not the shiny future we were promised. The rulebook doesn't sugarcoat it either.
Mm.
Poverty's rampant, violence is everywhere, and it's the corporations calling all the shots.
Pretty much. It makes you wonder how we even got to that point.
Right, like what went wrong?
Well, they call it technoshock. The idea is tech advanced so fast, society just couldn't handle it.
Like our brains couldn't keep up with our gadgets.
Exactly. People felt lost, overwhelmed, so naturally there was unrest. They wanted something more, something different.
And I'm guessing that something different didn't work out so well.
You could say that. The rule book goes into the fall of America, and it's a wild ride. You've got cities crumbling, the government's a mess.
Corrupt, you mean?
More than corrupt. They had this group called the Gang of Four, basically controlling everything from the shadows.
Who were they? Some kind of super secret society.
Think government agencies, but twisted. Like the NSA, FBI, all basically answering to the vice president.
And this vice president was?
Let's just say brilliant but ruthless. They gutted social programs, ignored all these health crises, and just kept funneling money into the military.
Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It was. And while the government was busy with that, individual states started breaking away. They called themselves free states.
Trying to go it alone, huh?
Exactly. But as if that wasn't bad enough, then the plagues hit.
Plagues, like biblical-style plagues.
Kind of. Imagine this awful intestinal infection, the wasting plague. It tore through Europe and the U.S. People would starve no matter how much they ate.
That's horrifying.
Millions died before they finally found a vaccine.
And that was just one of them.
Oh, no, there are more. Some natural, some... Well, let's just say there were whispers of bioengineered outbreaks.
So on top of everything else, we've got engineered diseases running around.
It was a brutal time. But in true cyberpunk style, humans found ways to adapt. Well, try to, anyway. That's where cybernetics really took off.
Replacing limbs, enhancing senses, all that.
Yep. Trying to overcome their limits, even if it meant becoming more machine than man.
But the rulebook mentions a dark side to that, too. Cyberpsychosis, right?
Right. You get so much cyberware installed, it messes with your head, you become unstable, violent.
Like a machine taking over?
Kinda makes you question how much is too much, you know? When do we stop being human?
Deep stuff. So we've got cyberpsychos, gangs running wild with enhanced abilities, and did I mention the corporate wars?
Can't forget those. And these weren't just boardroom battles. We're talking full-blown conflicts, devastating consequences. One of them nearly wiped out Night City.
Night City?
Yeah, the main setting for Cyberpunk RAD. They actually detonated a nuke right in the heart of the city, Arasaka Tower, during the Fourth Corporate War.
And the city survived that.
Night City endures. It's a tough place. The rulebook describes it as a city of contrasts. Like, you've got these gleaming corporate towers right next to sprawling slums.
Sounds like a place you need a bodyguard just to visit.
Pretty much. But before we get too deep into Night City itself, let's talk about the people. The whole cyberpunk ethos.
So it was not just the tech, it's a way of life.
Exactly. It's a mindset. The rulebook lays out 3 core rules for cyberpunk. Style over substance, attitude is everything, and live on the edge.
Catchy. But what do they actually mean for someone living in Night City?
Think of them as survival strategies. In a world this messed up, how you present yourself, your attitude, it can make all the difference.
So it's not enough to just have the skills, you gotta have the swagger.
Pretty much. Speaking of swagger, let's talk more about Night City. The rulebook mentions all these different districts, each with its own vibe, its own dangers.
Give me some examples, like what kind of districts are we talking about?
Well, there's Pacifica. It was supposed to be this amazing corporate-funded paradise. Now it's overrun by gangs, violence everywhere.
Not so paradisey anymore.
Nope. And then you've got the combat zones. Areas so dangerous they're basically lawless.
Sounds terrifying.
It is. But there's something about Night City that pulls you in, you know? This mix of beauty and decay, hope and despair, it keeps you on edge.
And on top of the environment, you've got the mega corporations and gangs running things.
They're the real power players.
Yeah.
You've got corporations like Arasaka, Militech, Biotechnica, each one specializing in something different, but all wielding insane influence.
So the average person is just trying to survive in the middle of all that.
Pretty much. And the gangs don't make it any easier. The Tiger Claws, Maelstrom, they all have their own territories, their own style.
This feels like a constant power struggle.
It is. Now, let's say you're new to Night City. Just stepped off the bus, wide-eyed and ready to go. What's the first thing you need to know?
Besides, watch your back.
Learn the lingo. Cyberpunk RVD has its own slang, and if you don't want to stick out like a sore thumb, you got to pick up on it fast.
Because nothing screams tourist like not knowing the slang.
Exactly. So Cyberpunk 101, Chumba means friend, chipping in is getting cyberware installed, and flatline, well, you don't want to know.
Got it. Chumba good, flatline bad. Anything else?
Netrin means hacking into the net, which is what's left of the internet after all the chaos. Chupo H2 is alcohol fuel, and Edge Runner, that's you, pushing the limits, living on the edge.
Wait, there's still an internet in this world?
It's called the net, and it's more fragmented, dangerous than it used to be. But it's still vital to life in Night City. It's where information flows, where deals are made, where fortunes are won and lost.
So it's not just about surviving on the streets, it's about surviving in cyberspace, too.
Exactly. And that brings us back to that cyberpunk ethos. Live on the edge. Because in Night City, the line between success and failure, life and death, is razor thin. It's a world that demands you adapt, be resilient, and maybe be a little paranoid.
Intense. Okay, before we go any further, I'm curious. What stands out to you so far about Cyberpunk RD? What kind of character do you think you'd be in this setting?
That's a good question. It's amazing how a well-built world can suck you in, make you imagine yourself as part of it.
Absolutely. We've just scratched the surface here, and I'm already hooked. We'll be back soon to dive deeper into the game mechanics and character creation. Don't go anywhere.
Made with NotebookLM.
Welcome back to our Cyberpunk RED deep dive. We've shown you the world, the dangers, the whole vibe. Now let's see how you actually play the game.
Right, because watching from the sidelines is one thing, but actually becoming a cyberpunk edge runner, that's way more exciting.
Definitely. And that's where the game mechanics come in. Cyberpunk RED actually makes it pretty easy to jump in, even if you're not a hardcore RPG person.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So what's at the heart of it all?
Dice. Good old-fashioned dice rolling.
Really? Like, just roll some dice and see what happens.
Not quite. You roll usually a 10-sided die and add that to your character's attributes and skills.
Okay, so like, if I'm trying to hack a security system.
You'd roll that die, add your intelligence score, plus your hacking skill.
And then?
The game master, the person running the game, sets a target number. It depends on how hard the task is.
So if I roll high enough, plus my stats, I beat the target number, I succeed.
Exactly.
And what if I roll really well? Like a 10 on that die.
That's a critical success. It means you not only do it, you do it with style. Maybe you hack that system in record time or even leave a backdoor for later.
Slick.
But of course, there's the flip side.
Critical failure.
Yep. That's when things get interesting. Or maybe messy is a better word.
Like how messy?
Roll a 1 on that die. Things go wrong. Really wrong. And in Night City, that can mean serious trouble.
So hacking, and I roll a 1. I trigger an alarm. Fry my own equipment.
Could be. Lots of possibilities. And that's what keeps things exciting. There's always that risk.
I'm starting to get the picture. So, we roll some dice. But how do I even make my character? How do I go from 0 to hero?
Character creation. This is where Cyberpunk RD really shines. Tons of options to make your character truly unique.
Walk me through it.
First, you pick your role. Basically, what your character does, their expertise.
We're talking the classic cyberpunk archetypes, right?
Yeah, you got it. Rocker boy, solo, tech, medtech, and media. 5 iconic roles.
So, like, Rockaboy's the musician, right? Rebel with a cause, that kind of thing.
More than just a musician, they're the voice of the people. They use their music to fight authority, inspire change, sometimes even spark revolutions.
Whoa. So not just playing gigs, they're like social commentators.
Exactly. They can sway crowds, expose secrets, even start uprisings with their music. Pretty powerful stuff.
And then solo is what? The tough guy.
Basically, solos are all about pushing their limits, physical and mental. Combat experts, weapons specialists, not afraid to use whatever it takes to win.
So lots of action, lots of danger.
You got it. They can work for anyone, corporations, gangs, or go solo as a Ronin.
What about tech? like the gearhead, right?
The master of machines, they keep things running from cyberware to weapons. They're problem solvers, essential to how Night City even functions.
So kind of like the unsung heroes.
Definitely. Need a custom cybernetic implant, a weapon repaired, a security system bypass. The tech's your go-to.
And then there's MedTech. They keep everyone patched up, right?
More than just patching up. They're skilled surgeons, pushing the boundaries of medicine, using tech to heal and enhance the body.
Essential in a world like this, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. And last but not least, we have media.
They report the news.
They're more like truth seekers. Journalists, reporters, bloggers, always digging for the story, exposing corruption, no matter the risk.
Holding the powerful accountable.
Oh, exactly. So, 5 distinct roles, each with their own skill set, their own view of the world.
So I pick my role, then what? How do I make my character like a real person?
That's where the life path system comes in. And this is brilliant. It's a set of tables and prompts that helps you build a character with real depth.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How does it work?
You start with your character's origins. You roll dice to figure out their background, ethnicity, language, where they grew up.
So I could end up with someone who's like half Japanese, half Brazilian, raised in Little China?
Exactly. Tons of possibilities.
Yeah.
And it's not just about checking boxes. It's about how those influences shape who they are.
I like that. It's more than stats. It's about building a story.
Exactly. And the life path system guides you through it all. You answer questions about their personality, their values, their relationships.
So it's like uncovering their past.
Yeah, kind of like, what do they value most? What are they afraid of? Who do they love? Who do they hate?
Deep stuff.
It even goes into their style, how they dress, tattoos, piercings.
Wow, it's like building a character for the most intense reality show ever.
One cool thing is the life path can even create connections between characters.
You mean like my character knows someone else's character?
Yeah, maybe they're old friends, rivals, even ex-lovers.
That's cool.
And those connections, those shared histories, they add so much to the game.
So it's not just individuals, it's a whole community already linked together.
Exactly. It makes the story way more dynamic.
Okay, I'm seeing how this works. We create these characters with their backstories, their relationships, then we drop them into Night City. What happens next?
The game master takes over. They're the narrator, the referee, the architect of the whole adventure.
So they set the scene, create the challenges, keep things moving.
Exactly. They bring the world to life, test the player's skills, maybe even their morals.
And the rule book has this sample mission, getting paid. That's a good place to start, right?
Absolutely. It's a classic cyberpunk story. Double crosses, betrayals, high stakes. Perfect introduction to how the game works.
Okay, I'm curious. What's this mission all about?
Imagine your crew pulls off a job, steals some valuable data from the docks, but as they're making their escape, bam, they get double-crossed by corrupt cops.
Talk about bad luck.
The cops take the data, and to make matters worse, their fixer, the person who set up the job, gets kidnapped.
So now they got to save their fixer and get their data back.
Or they could cut their losses and run. It's a tough choice.
With real consequences, I bet.
Definitely. And that's what makes the game so compelling. It's not just about winning, it's about those tough choices, the moral dilemmas.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's the essence of Cyberpunk RED. It's not for the faint of heart. It's about exploring the dark side of humanity, pushing your own limits, and facing a world where right and wrong aren't always so clear.
I can see why people get hooked on this. It's more than just a game, it's an experience.
Well said. It taps into those anxieties we have about the future, but wraps it up in this neon-soaked package that's just irresistible.
Okay, I'm officially on board. We've covered the world, the mechanics, the character creation, even got a taste of a mission.
And we've just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore. Cyberware, net running, all the weapons and vehicles.
Cyberware. It's got to be one of the coolest things about Cyberpunk already.
No doubt. It's all about fusing flesh and tech, those enhancements that make you stronger, faster, the whole package.
But it's more than just looking cool with chrome limbs, right? I mean, there's got to be more to it than that.
Oh, absolutely. In Cyberpunk RED, cyberware is a way of life. It's everywhere, blurring the lines between human and machine.
And the rulebook goes deep on the different kinds of cyberware you can get. Basic implants for your senses, full body conversions. It's crazy. You can replace your eyes with enhanced optics, get telescopic vision, or swap out an arm for a cybernetic one with superhuman strength.
So it's like building your ultimate cyberpunk character, piece by piece.
You got it. But there's a catch. All that modification comes with a price. Remember cyberpsychosis.
Yeah, the mental instability from too much cyberware. That sounds pretty scary, like a computer virus in your brain.
Not exactly, but it's kind of like that. The more you push those limits, the more you risk losing your grip on reality.
So you have to be careful and not just go for the most powerful upgrades.
Right. In Cyberpunk RED, getting cyberware is a big decision. It changes who you are, what you're capable of. It's a question of how much you're willing to risk.
And it's not just the mental stuff, right? Having all that cyberware makes you a target, too.
Think about it. You've got valuable implants. People would kill for that kind of tech.
So you're basically walking around with a bullseye on your back.
Pretty much. You have to be smart, aware of your surroundings, can't let your guard down. Okay, so let's get specific. What kind of crazy cyberware does the rulebook talk about?
Well, there are the classic cyberlimbs. Enhanced strength, speed, sometimes even built-in weapons. But then you've got things like muscle grafts, subdermal armor.
Subdermal armor, like bulletproof skin.
You got it. You can even get internal oxygen tanks for underwater missions.
That's wild. What about those neural implants, the ones that boost your brain power?
You can enhance your reflexes to dodge bullets, boost your memory to remember every detail.
So you're like a human computer.
Kind of. But remember, those come with risks too. Push them too far and you might lose yourself.
Right, that whole cyber psychosis thing. Okay, so cyberware for your body, implants for your brain, and then there's net running, right?
Yes, net running. Hacking into the net, the vast digital network that connects everything in Night City. It's more than just typing code, though. It's like projecting your consciousness into cyberspace.
So like the Matrix.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Netrunners use cyberdecks and software to navigate this digital world. They fight security programs, other hackers, even AIs.
Sounds dangerous.
It is. You need skill, guts, and a willingness to push yourself to the limit. But the rewards can be huge. Access to secret information, control over systems. You can even cripple corporations.
But I bet the risks are huge too.
The net is full of traps, viruses, bad stuff that can mess you up. One wrong move and you could be mentally scarred or worse.
So we've got cyberware for strength, implants for smarts, net running for hacking. What about regular weapons? Guns, blades, that kind of thing.
The rulebook covers all that. Pistols, shotguns, assault rifles, you name it. Plus all sorts of melee weapons, too. Katanas, whips, even blades that come out of your fingertips.
That's pretty badass. And what about vehicles? Are we talking futuristic motorcycles, flying cars?
Oh, yeah, you've got it all. The classic Yaiba Kusanagi motorcycle, armored vans, even the Militech AV4 Aerodyne.
The Aerodyne.
The heavily armed aircraft. It can fly, too. You dominate the streets and the sky with that thing.
So no matter what kind of cyberpunk you want to be, the rulebook's got you covered.
Exactly. It's all about expressing yourself, finding your own way in this crazy world.
We've really gotten a good look at Cyberpunk RED here. Explored the city, learned the rules, even dove into the tech.
It's a world full of danger and opportunity. You can be whoever you want, achieve anything you can imagine.
If you can survive, that is.
True, but that's the thrill of it, right? Pushing the limits, living on the edge.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Cyberpunk RED. We'll be back soon to explore even more. Until then, stay safe on the street. Well, I guess we'll have to save that for another deep dive. But for now, let's shift gears and talk about one of the most iconic aspects of Cyberpunk RED. Cyberware. Okay, let's talk cyberpunk.